Robert Hayes had chosen quiet small-town life to escape the weight of his past. For 30 years, he'd worked with the most dangerous criminals, trying to understand their minds. But Emma's disappearance forced him to face his old identity. Before we begin this psychological thriller story, tell us in the comments which city you're watching from. And if you believe stories of heroes fighting darkness should be told, hit that subscribe button. Robert Hayes was the quietest resident of Cedar Falls. 62 years old, gray hair always neat, wore glasses, took walks at the same time every morning. Never talked much with anyone. A quiet retiree. He'd moved to town 3 years ago, bought a small 2-story house, grew tomatoes in his garden, read books in the evenings. He'd built polite but distant relationships with neighbors. "Good man," said Grocer Pete. "Calm, peaceful, never causes problems." "Reads a lot," said neighbor Mrs. Johnson. "Always with books." We don't know what work he did, but he's clearly educated. No one knew his previous profession. When asked, he'd say, "I was a government employee." He never went into details. His house had a strange order to it. Everything in its place, clean, organized. But his bookshelf had criminology, forensic psychology, and criminal behavior analysis books. Robert woke up every morning at 7 a.m., drank his coffee, read his newspaper. He tried to avoid the news, especially crime stories. They reminded him of his past. During walks, he always followed the same route: lakefront path, park, town center, home. He'd observe people, but tried not to make it obvious. Shopping at the grocery store, he'd watch the townspeople. Who behaved how? Which families had problems? Which youth were at risk? Old habits died hard. Afternoons, he'd work in the garden. After dinner, he'd read books. He wouldn't turn on the TV. News, crime documentaries, thriller movies. They all brought back his past. When sleep wouldn't come at night, he'd look out the window. He'd watch the dark streets. Who was coming home when? Which houses had lights on? Observation was part of his old profession. Cedar Falls was a small town. Everyone knew everyone. Nothing stayed secret. Robert found this situation comforting. There was no chaos of big cities, crime rates, uncertainty. Walking downtown, he began recognizing people. Grocer Pete, honest, hardworking barber. Sam, very talkative, loves gossip. Teacher. Sarah, serious, responsible. Young Jake, a bit rebellious but harmless. These observations happened automatically. 30 years in prison reading people, analyzing behaviors, making risk assessments. These skills weren't forgotten. October 15th morning, the town was shaken. 8-year-old Emma Wilson had disappeared on her way to school. Emma was the town's most beloved child. Cheerful, talkative, knew everyone. Her father ran the town pharmacy. Her mother was a teacher. She left home at 8:30 a.m., was last seen in front of the grocery store on her way to school. She never arrived at school. The whole town was on high alert. Search and rescue teams came. Volunteers were organized. The forest was searched. When Robert heard the news, his first reaction was to flee. These types of incidents affected him deeply. He'd seen too many similar cases in the past, but he knew Emma's family. Father Tom at the pharmacy treated him respectfully. Mother Lisa also cared for children at school with dedication. Robert couldn't stand it. He went to the scene. Police teams had arrived. Crime scene investigation had begun. But Robert was disturbed by what he saw. The team was very young, inexperienced. Crime scene. In front of the grocery store where Emma was last seen. Robert couldn't get close, but observed from a distance. Footprints on the ground, trampling in the grass, broken branches on trees. These details told him a lot, but he shouldn't interfere. The detective was young. It was obvious this was his first time with such a case. He was following procedure, but the analysis was insufficient. "She probably got lost in the forest," he said. "Search teams will find her." But Robert understood this wasn't a missing case. It was kidnapping. Because Emma was a local child. She wouldn't get lost in the forest. The evidence at the scene told a different story. The timing was very specific. Robert went home, but his mind was on the scene. He couldn't sleep that night. The next day, Robert went back to the scene. This time, he examined more carefully. Footprints on the ground. One big, one small. Emma's shoe, size 2, that the small print matched. Big print size, 10 to 11. Men's shoe. Trampling in the grass. No struggle marks. Emma resisted, but not much force was used. Broken branch. Emma's hair strand could be found. This data gave Robert a criminal profile. Male, middle-aged, knows Emma. Little resistance. Planned action. Perfect timing. Local. Knows the area. Robert couldn't stand it anymore. He went to the detective. Detective, I can help with this case. Who are you, sir? Robert Hayes. I have experience in these matters. What kind of experience? Robert hesitated. Criminal behavior analysis. What was your profession? I was a prison warden. 30 years. The detective was surprised. Prison? Which prison? San Quentin, Pelican Bay, finally ADX Florence. Maximum security sections. What criminals did you work with? Serial killers, child abusers, psychopathic profiles. I interviewed them for 30 years. The detective was trying to process this information. What do you think about Emma's case? This is kidnapping, not missing. Robert shared his analysis with the detective. The perpetrator knows Emma. Because struggle evidence is minimal, Emma trusted someone she knew. Age 35 to 50. Because physical force was used but no excessive violence. Local. Because escape route was perfectly planned. From Emma's close circle. School, family, neighborhood. Has done this before. This level of planned behavior requires experience. The detective was taking notes. What do you recommend? Examine all men in Emma's circle. Teachers, neighbors, acquaintances. How many hours do we have? First 48 hours are critical. After that. Robert didn't finish his sentence. The detective listened to Robert's advice. Men in Emma's circle were listed. School principal PE teacher, neighbor Uncle Grocer's son, pharmacy technician Robert, examined all their files. One caught his attention. PE teacher Mark Stevens, 38 years old, single, taught Emma's class. Investigate this man, he said. Why? Close contact with children, lives alone, knows Emma well. And Robert stopped. And what? Behavior pattern fits. Robert remembered Mark. He'd seen him at the gym during his first days in town. He was very close with children. His prison experience had taught him this. Child abusers usually chose professions involving contact with children. Teaching, sports coaching, religious work. Investigate Mark's house, he told the detective. We need a search warrant. We don't have time. Do surveillance. Robert decided to act on his own. That evening, Robert went to Mark's house. Small, single-story house. Garden neglected, curtains closed. Robert examined around the house. In the backyard, he noticed something strange. Freshly dug soil. This was a very bad sign. Looking through the house window. Living room, messy, dirty dishes and kitchen. But one room's door was closed. Robert called police. Come immediately. Emergency. Police arrived 15 minutes later. Robert explained the situation. There's freshly dug soil in the backyard. This is a very bad sign. Search warrant was obtained. House was raided. Emma was found in the closed room. She was alive, but in shock. Mark was caught trying to escape. Mark confessed everything during interrogation. He'd tricked Emma after school and taken her to his house, intending to harm her. Have you done this before? The detective asked. Yes, in other places. Robert's profile analysis was correct. He was a serial offender. When Emma was rescued, the whole town welcomed it with joy. But everyone was in shock. They knew Mark, trusted him. How did you know? The detective asked Robert. I studied minds like this for 30 years. Behavior patterns are similar. You're a hero. No. I'm just experienced. The incident had a big impact on the town. Everyone was suspicious. Can anyone be trusted? Robert expected this. He'd seen similar cases. He talked with Emma's family. Your daughter is strong. She'll recover. But she needs therapy. How are you so calm? The mother asked. Because I've seen worse. Emma is lucky. After the incident, Robert changed. He was no longer running from his past. The detective offered, "Would you work as a consultant?" "I'll think about it." This ability shouldn't be wasted. When Robert got home, he looked at his books. Criminology, forensic psychology. Instead of throwing them away, he started reading them again. A week later, Robert made his decision. He agreed to consult for police. "Why?" the detective asked. "The day I saved Emma, I understood. Hiding this knowledge is selfish. Didn't your past bother you?" "It did. But now I can use this knowledge to fight evil." Robert now gives criminal profiling training to young officers. "Criminals are predictable," he tells them. "They have behavior patterns. You can learn them." "How are you so calm?" young officers ask. "Because I know them." What you fear can harm you. What you understand can be controlled. Now Robert is the town's unofficial security consultant. He reports to police on suspicious situations, does risk analysis. Children love him. Detective Grandpa, they call him. "I'm not a detective," Robert says. "I'm just someone who reads people." Last month, Robert solved a second case. He found the perpetrator in a burglary case through behavior analysis. "You're the town's guardian now," the detective says. "No," Robert says. "I'm just someone using my past for the right purpose." That night he slept peacefully at home, because now he knew the darkness of the past can become the light of the future. If you think this story gave you strength, tell us your city in the comments. And subscribe to help ensure that stories of heroes like Robert, who make peace with their past and serve the future, continue to be told. Sometimes the greatest power is turning darkness into light.